Live. Welcome to Healing Profits Live, our weekly show. I am Becca Starr. I am here this week to talk about dealing with difficult clients. And I'm in a new setup, a new office space in our house. I am very excited. I'm actually going to do a behind the scenes tour, and that will be coming up soon during this week. It won't be live. I'm going to do a couple clips of videos to actually show you the house that we moved into in Connecticut from Los Angeles and how I'm set up. I'm not going to tell you where I am yet. You'll have to watch that video, but you might laugh when you realize where in the house I am. And it may come, let's see. There is also going to be pictures of my before going on camera. Now, I could just go on camera, no makeup, hair bun. You've seen plenty of videos like that, but I like to feel pretty when I'm going live on two very public platforms. But the behind, can you see the bronzer? Lots of blending. Hopefully, if I've done it right, there's lots of blending. So ladies, gentlemen, if you wear makeup, totally acceptable on camera. And so is contouring, blending. I'm actually noticing now that you may have never noticed it. I'm actually noticing where I might need to blend a little bit more. So I have realized I'm going to take up a little bit of like a minute or so into the first part of our live every week with a little thing like I am doing right now, because on YouTube, for some reason, it just takes a couple minutes to pick up audio and get more clarity in the video, in the feed. So I use a third-party platform. I want it to be perfect when I get to the content, to the good stuff, just like my makeup. And I want to talk to you today about dealing with difficult clients. So if you're a service provider, you're a massage therapist, a healer, somebody that does one-on-one session work, if you own a spa and you and or your team does one-on-one work with clients, specifically in a room, just client and provider services. So this is going to be for you if that fits how you provide your services. You might be able to use some of these if you teach classes and groups where you might have difficult clients within that. Take what you need, leave the rest. And I'm going to first give you some of my own experiences and tell you what a difficult client is, but also what a difficult client is not. And I want to get really clear on what is inappropriate and what is just plain annoying and difficult. Those are two different clients, and we're only talking about difficult clients. I'm not going to get into a whole show about crossing the line clients where there needs to be, that isn't just learning to deal with a difficult client. That's a whole other thing. So today, I want to share what you can do to empower yourself and develop your skills in dealing with a difficult client. Because as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, someone who provides services, part of your job is customer service. And with a lot of clients, probably 99% of your clients are amazing. They make it easy. You know how to be professional, but maybe it's those challenging situations with people that, let's say, they smell horrible. They don't have good hygiene. They talk too much. They are over controlling, nitpicky. Maybe they're needy clients. They don't leave when the session is over. They show up late consistently. These are just a handful of ways that really presents itself if they are a recurring client as a difficult client. That is not an easy client, but that is an opportunity for you to develop your skills and actually pay your bills a little easier. Now, here's the thing. You could have 10 service providers in a room all talking about how to deal with a difficult client. And there might be all 10 of those service providers on the same page. They got your back. Don't rebook. This is your time. This is your business. You don't have to rebook with that client. Totally valid, totally true. And in a lot of Facebook groups, if this comes up, you will hear a good percentage of other healers and entrepreneurs say that. This is your business. You do it your way. Okay. There are a few flaws in that general theory. First of all, you're not developing your skills in general as the CEO of your business. You are the business owner, and you get an opportunity to be a better, more empowered and educated business owner and deal with difficult clients like a badass. Like, I got this. I've dealt with plenty of difficult people in this world. And while I prefer the easy ones, this person, this is key, is not giving me a hard time as much as they're having a hard time, because that is true all of the time. Whether or not you want to deal with it or not, that's up to you. I'm here to tell you there are different ways to deal with it. You don't have to make it a black and white thing. And one of the greatest lessons that I've learned, because I really started in that camp of, not always, because I've had like such a few difficult clients, like 99% of clients are amazing. And I think I've always tried to apply more understanding because I like money also. I like to pay my bills. I like financial security. I like receiving money from clients, from gifts, from the universe. I like that. And that's a part of why I like to be an entrepreneur, because I don't have just one weekly paycheck coming to me or every other week deposited, where there is so much security in that. It doesn't actually get more abundant than that. And I love that. So that to me is a part of being a business owner. And I don't know if money matters to you or not. And if it doesn't, you simply could use that blanket response of, I'm not going to rebook them. They talk too much. They're over demanding. They're always griping about my prices, like all of the reasons. And you will find validation for that. So let's just get really clear. Like, you have that option and it is your business. But I think there's a lot more value in what I have learned in over 20 years as a business owner is there is a middle ground between just bearing down and dealing with it. Like, I'll just survive this hour or this 90 minutes. Like, I will get through it and it'll be over. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'll do whatever I have to do. Like, that to me isn't even an option. I could quite honestly work for somebody else and have whoever they book me come, because I I think that's a very sort of like opposite ends of the spectrum. So either don't rebook them or tolerate it to the point that you are just effing miserable. And so those two options to me aren't really valid choices. So before I jump in to how to deal with a difficult client, I really want to be specific about somebody that crosses a line, or you believe your intuition is telling you that is their intention. Now, if somebody sexualizes a massage, that to me, never book with them again. Like, this is a completely different client that we will put in the inappropriate column of do not rebook. Now, I should have drank my coffee before I went live. Also behind the scenes, FYI, I've been frothing my milk for my coffee. It's delicious. Some stevia and cinnamon, just regular cup of coffee with the milk steamed, frothed, cinnamon. It's like incredible. So back to back to what we're talking about. Now, inappropriate clients, they might like inappropriately rub your leg. Now, they could do a number of things, or they do one thing and it sends a red flag up. Like, what the F is that? Like, that is inappropriate. And that was just their first step, that first intention. Sometimes you hear that term, they're grooming you to see how much you will allow. That done. Like, that to me is worth a whole other episode that we could talk specifically on that. I just want to be really, really clear that that is not simply a difficult client. So when we're dealing with difficult clients, you could react and emotionally respond to whatever's happening, make that decision whether you rebook them, however you speak. You could choose to run your business in, those are two very different ways. So to react is an emotional response, and to respond is a calm and confident CEO response. It's more empowered and educated, and also with compassion and all of the things. So when you think of a situation that's difficult, do you want your nervous auntie who is just always freaking out over spilled milk? Like, do you want her to show up to help with that difficult situation, like feeling super stressed out or emotional and being reactive to something happening? Or do you want a first responder showing up with all that confidence and knowledge and skill and calmness? When you show up confident and calm, it helps everyone in the situation feel that calmness and the confidence. So do you want to be a responder, or do you want to be a reactor? And I just realized I did not put the title of our show into this particular episode. So again, we're talking about dealing with difficult clients today. And I don't know how to add these things. Oh, yes, I did figure this out before. Stream title is actually dealing with difficult clients. So do you want to be a responder, or do you want to be a reactor? And one thing that was mentioned before and really bears repeating is they are having a hard time. They're not just giving you a hard time to give you a hard time, even though it might seem like that. When I became a mom, it was really hard and challenging, still is, in certain moments. And the problem is taking it personally. So, and that's with kids, it's with your family, it's with clients. It's a life skill to realize that when somebody is giving you a hard time, they're actually just having a hard time. And it's not about you. It really isn't. If somebody is being offensive, it's because they are offensive, or they are choosing offensiveness in that moment. If you're being defensive, the same is true. You are choosing defensiveness in that moment. So, do you see what I'm saying? So, what they do, it doesn't have anything to do with you, but sometimes it looks like that, and it really feels like that. And it gets really hard to navigate that when you're triggered. And maybe it reminds you of the way somebody else treated you in your life or something, and it kind of sets off some signals that don't feel good to you. And maybe you want to protect yourself. So I ask you first, before I get into some of these do's and don'ts and skill sets that you can just start using right away, I want you to just get really clear on when somebody triggers you, a client is difficult. Have you had another experience in your life where that has happened? Is that a pattern that you've had? Is that a similar situation that you've kind of been through before, even if it was in childhood, but it cut deep and it really hurt, and then it's happening again? That to me is an opportunity. That's opportunity written all over it, because it's actually up to you, but it's a gift if you want it. You get to choose how, as an adult, an empowered, skilled, highly professional person in her business, you get to choose how you deal with it now. You're not a young child. You're not somebody in an emotional, maybe a boyfriend girlfriend relationship where there was a lot of maybe things that you wouldn't put up with today, but they trigger you because you kind of felt like maybe that person talked to you that way, and that doesn't feel good. So that's your work. Like, that's your gift. So there are so many different things, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, all the different traits of what could define a difficult client. So if you have somebody and you believe that it could be either acceptance, it could be speaking up usually, and it probably could be either one of those things, because if it's acceptance, instead of just tolerating it, I'm going to ask you to shift your perspective. And if it's speaking up, that could be a number of things, but mostly it is in setting expectations clearly. And speaking up could actually be thinking about having an agreement before clients begin seeing you in sessions, that it's a really well written meaning understandable. Like, it's not a bunch of contractual stuff. It's you show up on time, or I simply take it off, it just gets deducted from the hour. It's their time. If you're getting mad at them for showing up late consistently and then asking for the extra hour, or they're getting upset because you're not giving them 10 extra minutes, if you have an agreement that is so simply worded in plain English when they first come in, and this is a step beyond what I would do, because this is how I used to hire people and do um, I would do a group orientation, but also in one-on-one sit down, because I wanted to be so super clear that it wasn't just a contract, it was an understanding. And not to get super technical, but even if you have a full wellness center, a spa where people are coming in, if they're coming in for their appointment, they fill out all their pain issues, they tell you about themselves, you have to tell them what to expect also from you. And if you just sit down with them, I mean, pre-COVID, post-COVID, mask on, whatever you want to do, but just say, so I just want to be sure, if you're late for the appointment, I just take it off of the time, but we still end at the same time. And then this is your hour. I recommend you just focus on your breath. And this is for the talkative ones, by the way. If you're having trouble relaxing, let me know, because we can do a guided meditation that will help you settle down and enjoy the massage more. I find that a quiet massage is more beneficial to my clients than talking and having conversations throughout, but you always let me know if something is too deep, not deep enough, something's uncomfortable. And even on that agreement, having that be in there. Like, if something is uncomfortable, I expect you to speak up. If I'm not asking you, I need you to tell me so we can make it better. Have that in your agreement. And I believe, like, contracts are there to protect you and them, but they're more than that. Like, they really are an understanding. There's something that help people understand boundaries. There's freedom in boundaries. Like there's more ability to relax when expectations have been clearly set. And it doesn't make it more, you know, technical, or it doesn't take the beautiful spiritual flow away from what you're offering and how you're helping people. It actually has the opposite effect. So think about what you've encountered so far, or some of these things, how you would handle them, and then write your agreement, if you choose to do that, based off of your real experiences. And how would an empowered, really caring provider set that in writing in a way that you could conversationally speak to somebody and ask, "Do you understand? Is that something that sounds good to you too?" Like, let them empower them, educate them. So that goes both ways, your own feeling empowered and being educated, and your clients empowering and educated and educating them. So there are going to be times, like I said, that either you accept the situation and do your best to ignore it, which I'm going to get a little bit more into how you could make the actual best of that rather than just like getting through it and tolerating it, but also speaking up. So we talked about the contract, we talked about um, how some of those examples I gave in the contract, how you might be able to deal with it when it comes up. It doesn't have to be an emotional sort of um, fueled with some sort of tension response. You could simply just let them know, okay, so, and no, it's they've booked the session, whether you're taking money in advance or not, but they still, that session needs to be paid for. So the more you can just kind of come over to the side of knowing like what you value, knowing what your value is, and getting really clear with that yourself, whether or not you share an agreement with your client, you have one for yourself. Like the more you can stand in that, the easier it just is to communicate that almost nonchalantly. So it's not this, pressured um, reaction because you feel jilted or faulted, because that's what tends to happen. And I've talked to a lot of people. So it's almost like you're having an emotional response, but unfortunately, as a business owner, we are all people and we're all dealing with people. So there's going to be emotions. But this has helped me so much, and I want it to help you, and it could rub you the wrong way. But as a business owner, you've I can't think of any other better phrasing for this, but I'm just going to say what's on my mind here. You've lost the right to be emotional if you want to be successful. So I know there's a better way to say that, but as a business owner, that's not going to help make you successful if you're being emotional. It's just not. It's okay to be emotive. It's okay to feel for your clients. It's okay to engage with your clients on a personable level. Like I believe personable, that was a quality that was, it's often used to describe me. I really believe in being professional and personable. Now there is a difference between being personable and personal. There's a difference between having, like, being emotive without being emotional. There's a difference with responding versus reacting. So, this episode was actually going to get into a lot more very specific do's and don'ts. I will put the link to the article that is corresponding with this because there are a lot of do's and don'ts. And I'm going to give you a couple, two exercises before I wrap it up. But in those two options that you have, either accepting the situation or speaking up, I believe one of the best ways to know which to do is to simply take the palm of your hand and put it 2 inches above your belly button. And then you can put your other hand there if it's free, and you can just breathe in to that place in your belly. A really deep breath, feeling that area, and count 1,000, 1,000. Sometimes, if I have a lot going on in my head, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. Just keep saying it and breathing and holding that space. That space seems to know what to do. And that space is more vulnerable, wise, compassionate, and able to bring calmness to the situation naturally. And usually, for me, I tend to choose to not speak up in that moment. Because if I need to do this, that means I've been triggered. That means that if I'm dealing with a client, sometimes there's like a back and forth, a natural conversation where, going, if I'm in a coaching session and I'm talking to somebody and there's a real fluidity in that, if something is said or something makes me feel uncomfortable or they're a difficult client, which looks different now than when I had massage clients, but at least at this time in my career, I choose who I take on as a client, where I don't think there wasn't a process as much or as in depth as it is now. So when I have massage clients, people can call, they can book with you, you can talk to them on the phone, you can trust your instincts and all of that. But pretty much I would take and work with almost anybody that called me, unless they were weird, creepy weird. Now, the other exercise I wanted to give you, because when you are in a session, whatever service that you're providing, and this will also help you in the world as well. In school, so over 20 years ago, in the program that I went through, I learned this exercise, and it has to this day helped me so much feel grounded and protected. Now, when you are working one-on-one, especially in a small space, it could be a physical, sort of like the smell, the bad hygiene, that kind of a client. It could be they have toxic energy, that they're energy vampires, that they're super negative, like that they don't stop talking, like all of that. So it could be a number of things. But when you're in the session with somebody, you're going to pick up on that negativity and it could get stuck in you. And that's probably happening already if you're not doing something that's grounding you and helping you to be in a strong, powerful, energetic flow that's fully protective. Now, as a healer, it can get really intimate and it's gentle, it's compassionate, it's all the things that, kind of go against like protection and strength and power and all of that. You might think that it's very in contrast, but it's not. So, what I have always found is by doing this exercise before sessions and remembering it during, and then doing a cleansing after, that has helped me tremendously. And being really sensitive and being an empath, like it just naturally happens anyway. So, I can't imagine not doing this exercise. So, this is putting both of your feet, you start by putting both of your feet on the ground, firmly on the ground, and feeling the earth below you. Even if you're on the third floor of a building, like you're going to feel the earth energy. And it's going to come up through your feet, up through your body, and out the top of your head. And the energy just continues to go up and around you. And it fully envelops you. So the flow of energy coming up and out through your head is a flow. And when we don't have a flow, things can get in and get stuck and stagnant. So someone else's energy could come and attach, or your own perception of somebody and their negativity, it's going to just get stuck. And that's what we're trying to overcome with this exercise. So then the power of the energy flowing around you, that's where there's the energetic shield, the protective, the shield that keeps you able inside of your own shield to be gentle and compassionate and intimate and really intuitive without picking up anyone else's energy. And when somebody is on a table, so if you're doing acupuncture, pressure, Reiki, any type of healing work, your facialist especially, somebody's head, you think of all the energy and the mindset and all the energy coming out of it, that is at one of your softest places, energetically and physically. It's like right in your core. And so it's really important to protect your energy before a session starts, and then really staying in touch with that throughout the session, especially if it's a difficult client. So if you decide acceptance is the answer, like you don't feel like speaking up is really the solution, but you'd like a better way to deal with it and not have to just tolerate it and be miserable every time that they come in. There are a few ways to shift your perception. And when you shift your perception, that changes everything. Now, I do find that a lot of my problems have to do with the way I'm perceiving something. And if I accept things as they are, it gives me a lot more power to just feel better and make better choices, because I can't change anybody at all. And I know it's your business and you get to choose who walks through that door and who you don't rebook with and all of that. But there in acceptance is also another beautiful life skill that will help you feel more empowered and more compassionate and more able to serve from an authentic place, because to me, there's a lot more kindness for yourself and for someone else. Now, if somebody's a difficult client, you've decided it's not speaking up, it's just something you'd like to be able to manage better for yourself. The compassion is going to be like the first mindset shift to make. So remember again, whatever it is, even if it's bad hygiene, they are having a hard time. They're not trying to give me a hard time as much as they have their own limitations, their own anxiety, their own stress, and this is how they deal with it. There is not another person within 5 miles that needs a massage more than this client. So right there, you're approaching it just differently. If it is a hygiene thing, you might be able to use more essential oils, which will help, lavender, use different things that will help dissipate any, if it's giving you a headache or something. And you could also use a scented candle. There's some pretty powerful candles. And the only issues that might arise from those two is that the scented candle might affect you. It would give me a headache. And the essential oils, what if that client, being difficult, says they don't want essential oils and they don't want all that smelly stuff in the room or on them or whatever. The only other thing that I can think of would be hot towels, or quite literally Febreeze. So just having a little bottle that you can spray. Now, here's the thing about Febreeze. It's not a room deodorizer. I mean, it has different scents that you can pick, but the science behind Febreeze is that when you spray it into the air, it captures those molecules and literally makes them disappear. The funny thing, I did a whole It was in a book. It's a business book. It's really good, and I will remember. And if you know what that book is, please put it in the comments. It's not going to come to me right now, but I know that the studies that they did proved like this product, Febreeze, what we know and use today, maybe what we love, it couldn't make it to the market because people just didn't understand. It wasn't a selling point, that it had this powerful sort of ability to really capture smells and not just cover them. Like it was a really new technology that had never been discovered before. And what they ended up, the book was on marketing. And so they had to just brand it right, package it right, and sell people what they wanted more of rather than focus on the coolest aspect of like the product itself. Now, I prefer essential oils and I really do like clean products. I love Febreze because it actually, to me, I'm amazed at that one function that it has. And so even if you did spray that, it's not just going to cover it. It's not going to just deodorize the room. It's actually going to capture those smelly molecules and make them disappear like magic. So that is an option. And if speaking up is how you want to deal with a client like that, you may ask, could you shower beforehand? I don't know how they'll respond to that. These are options that you have, and only you'll know what is the right thing to do, and even kind of what you're comfortable with. But just know that you have options, because when you choose to accept it, maybe ignore it, deal with it, get through the sessions, be grateful for the money that, this client brings you every week or every other week, then if you can shift, from like just dealing with it to knowing that you have options, whether you choose them or not, that in itself kind of changes your mind a little bit. It gives you a little bit more, instead of feeling trapped, it gives you a little bit more freedom. Now, the thing about uh clients, uh I was starting to go somewhere with that last thought, and I can't remember where I was heading with that. Oh, the acceptance. So if you're going to, and then when I now I know what I wanted to say. And this is something like I really think can help, because when I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I like to receive money. I like clients that pay me money. Like that in itself holds a lot of value. And they come in consistently. And yes, there's challenges, and I have to learn how to overcome and deal. And I want to be empowered. Like all of that is great. But there is a thing about earning money, and it is an exchange, and you have to feel comfortable with it. But if instead of thinking maybe the way that I voiced that, the way that I expressed it, could you think of the gratitude and the feeling of being honored to have a client? When there's a lot of therapists that don't have clients, you have a client, and focusing simply on the gratitude can actually start to change how you're feeling and thinking. So when you have a client, that you start to focus on the feeling of gratitude more than all of the and like the annoyance and all that stuff, things start to change in your body and in your mind. Like there's things that happen that will shift mentally and physically because you're choosing to focus on gratitude. To take that even a step further, choose to bless that client. So in your mind, instead of thinking, I hate this client, this sucks, why me? Like all the things that you could be thinking, which you might just be thinking for the last like 3 months, wondering, you know, how am I going to deal with this for another second? Try that. Instead of allowing yourself to think how much you actually can't stand it or you hate it, shift. Thank you so much for a client. Thank you so much for this $120 or whatever it is. Thank you, universe, for helping me build my business. Universe, please send me different clients that, be specific about what you want instead. Thanking this client for helping you pay the rent. Thanking this client for helping you make your car payment or buy your supplies. Like, really be specific with your gratitude and find new things to be thankful for with this client. There are just as many things to be blessed by as there are to be cursed by. So when you're in that, like, you're not going to survive. Like, if in with this client, at least if you are in that, like, I can't stand this, I hate this client, everything's going to be amplified. It's going to get worse. That client will probably start doing those annoying things even more. And then you're going to be miserable and it's going to just make it that much harder. But the, you have control over this. You actually have control over your thoughts. And once you shift them from resentment to gratitude, the feelings will follow. So resentment and annoyance, frustration is going to lead to, like, not feeling good emotionally, even physically. Shifting to whatever you can find and be specific about, and start general, start broad, and then just get more specific. Like, thank you for this client. Thank you, universe, for helping me pay my bills. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for helping me pay for this space, for my massage cream, for my car. Like, get creative and get specific, and then that will shift how you feel emotionally and physically. Now, I really want to talk about one last sort of an example, because I think that the exercise itself, if you're not already utilizing this, it could really help you in your sessions. And this is for any service provider, and it will, it's not something you could do all the time with anybody in the world, but because you're the professional, you actually can do this, and you can learn how to do this and do this better and better and better the more you practice. So when you have a client that is super talkative, and that's the problem, and they just don't ever relax, it's really hard to, like, help them because they're just talking a lot. I will tell you that when I am nervous, I talk more. I'm such an introvert, but this is probably, like, the greatest gig for me, is to go live on camera and just, like, riff off of all of the ideas that I have, because talking has never been a problem for me. But when I get nervous or I'm stressed out, I actually don't stop talking. I can't stop talking. Like, it's a thing. And my husband, my husband, I'm sorry. Okay, wait a minute. I'm just in a room by myself laughing. So I hope you find this as funny when I share it with you. Not that he's going to commit a crime, but my husband has said, I would never commit a crime with you, because if we ever got caught, you would never stop talking. Like, I would just give it all away, because that's how I respond to nervousness. And it's actually a gift, I think, because for the first half of my life, I was so silent in ways that, like, is survival technique. And so I am a talker. I am meant to be a talker. And in sessions, you're going to find some people that are also talkers. And it might be because of nerves. It might be because they are just craving connection. They need more connection in their life, and they're bringing it to you. It is a way maybe for them to relieve stress also. So what you can do is the speaking up choice. So accept it, some of the compassion, the acceptance, the shift in your own perspective, stop judging. And Start looking at them as somebody that actually needs massage and stress relief, probably more than most people. And then also in the speaking up sort of response that you could take is really clearly defining those expectations. So before we start our session, let's take 5 minutes to just talk. You tell me what's going on, and let's spend the session. Um, you don't want to tell somebody that's talking to be quieter, but in the session, if it's okay with you, I'll start with a little visualization. And you can leave it that simple. And when you start the massage, once or the session, whatever type of work you're doing, practice if you'd like, if you don't have any experience with this, but you can guide them in a meditation. So, what you can do is you could actually have them settle in and say, okay, so just take a few deep breaths and close your eyes and imagine that we are at the beach. We are in a cabana and you can smell the ocean air. You can hear the waves coming, hitting the beach. So here's the thing about those waves. If the client has really high energy to start, it's your job, part of your job, if you accept it, to guide them more to their center. And if their energy is somewhere in the middle or lower, you can have gently, the waves are gently coming in to the shore. You can hear the waves gently. And if their energy is high, you can describe the waves as crashing in at first and then guiding them with some breath work to inhale the ocean air, deep breath in, smelling that ocean air, feeling the light breeze, big exhale. And as the waves continue to crash in, they begin to become more gentle. So you're taking them from a high energy place, even with like if you're hands on with your session work, rocking and meeting them where they are first and bringing them more to a center. So that is something that you are empowered to do. And you can ask them if it's okay, but you're actually helping them and helping yourself. So it's a win-win. And you get to do stuff like that when you are a service provider. It's always going to be beneficial. It always will be helpful. So I want you to empower yourself, educate yourself, role play. Don't just, you could just try it on the job. For me, when we were in our program, we did a lot of different role play where difficult clients, situations, questions, if somebody came in with certain issues, how would we handle that as a therapist? So there was a lot of back and forth, like imagining exercises, which I was probably very uncomfortable with because I'm not an actor. I might like to do this, but I'm an introvert and I actually feel very awkward with other people doing that. But if you have a friend or somebody that can do it with you, it's awesome. That's going to give you the best preparation. If not, you can practice in the mirror. You can practice in your mind. It's best to say things out loud and hear how your voice, your tone, things are. Imagine a difficult client. What do they do? What do they say? How do you respond? How do you want to respond? What are different alternatives to your response? And you could do the therapeutic chair exercise where you sit in the chair and act like your client if you don't have somebody else to role play with, and then maybe stand up and you're talking to your client so that you are either switching chairs or you're standing and then sitting in each role so you can really get this more ingrained, because the problem for most people is they don't have experience with these skills, and that's all that they are. These could be your best clients ever, And I know that might be hard to understand if you're really in it and you're watching this because you're like at your wit's end, but you don't want to lose a client. And you don't want to get a bad review. Like all of that's super understandable, but you can do this. You can take care of people and you can take care of yourself like nobody's business. You got this. You can do that. And I believe in you. You believe in your ability to serve from a much higher place. So when you are angry or frustrated and showing up to a client session just like, well, at least they're paying my bills, like that isn't serving from a higher place and it's not serving you. And also, let's go, let's wrap this up talking about your value. There are two different definitions, descriptions of value. Knowing your value, how valuable you are, and knowing what you value. And as a business owner, both of those are really important to the foundation of your business. So if you know what you value and you're really clear about that, it's going to help you make decisions better. It's going to help you trust your gut better and really hear what your heart is telling you to do in a situation. You put your hand on that 2 inches above your belly button, you hold that. You can use all of these things we've talked about today. But when you know what you value and you know what your value is, and you're really clear on that, and you value self-care and you value self-love and you value speaking up, then you can believe that you're actually being valued. Like when you really get clear on your value, the world starts to see it more too. Other people, the more you change, other people change. These are just truths about how it works. And if you're not clear on your value and you don't practice good self-care and you don't set boundaries in your life and you don't have, self-compassion and you all the things that you haven't gotten clear on those things. It's not because you don't want to, it's just you haven't thought of it yet. And maybe it's time. And so if you just get clear on what you value and what your value is and you're really connected to that, then it will be a lot easier to receive that and understand how that looks in your professional career. And so I really hope this helps. And if you are attracting lots of clients that are difficult, that's about the law of attraction. Like that's something that if there's 10, you have all these clients and they're all super difficult and that's frustrating you, that's something we should talk about because that's something you can shift by absolutely shifting whatever's going on in here. You deserve better. It's your birthright to have amazing clients, amazing income, all of the things. If you want to book a clarity call with me, you can go right to beccastar.com. There's lots of resources there. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful to share some of these hot topics with you. Usually, every episode, I have been able to piece out with whatever next week's topic is, and I'd have to look it up right now. I am actually not clear on, I will figure it out and put it in the show notes so you know what to expect 1 week from today on Tuesdays, 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern.